Why, hello everybody! My name is Prunk, and today I want to go over my Ruby Amethyst control slash aggro. It's pretty more mid-range deck. This is the deck I'm using to kind of compete at locals. It's been a deck I've been playing around on Pixelborn quite a bit. It's gone through quite a few amount of revisions, and I feel like it's finally in a stable place, hanging around at roughly about an 80% win ratio overall. Funny enough, my build that I was playing on Pixelborn, I didn't realize it. I'm only playing 3 copies of Friends on the Other Side by mistake. So we're going to audit that. But otherwise, I'm going to show you my deck list, and hopefully this helps you out. And there's a few things I think I might want to change, but let's go over the card by card. I am playing 4 copies of Pascal. I like Pascal a lot just because having that small evasive unit is really good just to gain some lore early on, so you're not that far behind from your opponent because you really won't start gaining lore for a couple turns. And so if you're playing an aggressive deck, this will kind of help you keep up with them. He's just also a 1-drop card. You're going to often bounce him back for some other threats. And just really, really good. Overall, the second one I pick is Minnie Mouse. I like Minnie over Olaf simply for the fact that it can trick people into thinking you have the shift targets to play the Floodborn minis. So I think playing Minnie Mouse over Olaf is just correct in general, because even if you're not playing those shiftings, you can make your opponent think that Minnie is a bigger threat than she really is. So I like that Minnie Mouse for that reason. I'm only playing 2 copies of her. I just don't really like having the one-ofs. They're too much. I really just want to mulligan them. I'm going to hard mulligan my turn to try and get a 1-drop, but other than that, I never want to see him again. From there, I'm playing 4 snakes. I kind of bounced around quite a bit. I didn't mean to make that pun. I tried bouncing around with Madam Mim Snake quite a bit. I like 3 to 4 copies. I think we can trim her down to 3. It is definitely possible if you want to have a 60 card deck. I have a 61 card deck at the moment. If that really bugs you, then cutting down a Madam Mim or even a LeFou, who I'm currently playing at 4 of. So LeFou is the biggest card that I don't know if he's correct. So when he works, he works. Like being able to protect Arthur and bounce your Arthur back or ready up your Arthur again, so that way he is protected and you can do some more shenanigans next turn is amazing. And when it works, it works. The problem is it doesn't work all the time. So a lot of time, if I have LeFou turn 2, I don't actually want to do anything with him, and he's often just ink because of that. So he's just a weird card to me. I don't know if having 4 of him is correct at the moment. I'm playing around with the ratios quite a bit. He is great, but he's not always useful. He's more of a late game 2-drop than anything. From there, we're going for Queen of Hearts. I'm playing 3 copies of her. This is another weird one. I've been jumping back and forth between her and Gaston. I originally was going to stick hard with Gaston and playing the Reckless just because Simba is still a threat early on, and if it's going to protect some of the earlier on threats like Lilos and Cinderellas and everything else, I kind of wanted to have something that could easily out it, but I'm not really seeing Simba that much anymore. So I think Queen of Hearts just dropping. If they play their Cinderella, you can drop Queen of Hearts right on top of it. So the 1-2 Cinderella. She is probably more of the early game yellow threat now that I'm seeing for the yellow song stuff. If you drop Flynn Rider, I don't really care about discarding as much either anymore. I can quickly take that out so that way you're not going to be in a massive lead. So like Queen of Hearts, I think is the correct answer. I'm debating between 4 and 3 copies of her overall, but I think 3 at the moment is fine for the current meta. Arthur, 3 copies is more than enough for him. This is a late game card. You really don't want to see it early on. You don't need 4 copies of this card whatsoever, in my opinion. Madam Mim, Fox, this is the Rafiki slash Zeus replacement that we have all been begging for. So the debate is over. Those 2 cards are completely irrelevant, have been power creeped by Madam Mim Fox. The bouncing is not a downside, guys. So when you play this character, banish or return her to the hand, and she has rush. She's a 4. She trades with everything in the early game, with sitting at a nice 4 attack. She can often still survive, sitting at a nice 3 defense. And this great card late game, middle game, early game. This is just a phenomenal card. This is a 4 of in any purple deck. I don't think I can imagine a purple deck without Madam Mim Fox. 4 copies of Maleficent. That's easy. 4 copies of Goat. The funny thing is with Goat is he is often going to be ink in your opening hand. I don't need to play Goat early on and just try and keep bouncing it because I am setting up for control. And Goat is phenomenal, but he is more of a game closer than a game opener kind of card. So I'll often ink Goat right away and go from there. Four copies of Rabbit, you can probably get away with three. I have a little bit more uninkables than I want, and you could probably get around with three, but I've had some bad luck, and so sometimes I just want the extra draw power, and that's kind of why I'm playing it. Currently 61 cards, so we'll go from there. Maui, four of. He is a four of in any red deck. Period. I won't listen to anything else because his stat line is phenomenal. He's got the rush, so like he is inkable. He is just great card. From there, I got Yzma. Yzma, I kind of slept on her. At first, I wasn't convinced that she was going to be that good. I'm like, we have plenty enough draw power our own. But against some aggro, sometimes it is going to be worth having them draw those two cards, because otherwise you might just lose the game, especially with the rampant like of evasives and Pinocchios that I'm going to kind of see. I've been seeing a lot. This deck does not have a good counter to evasive. So if it does become a more evasive meta, then I got to change up this deck quite a bit because I have a horrible track record with this deck playing against evasive units. But Yzma kind of helps answer some of that stuff just to spin them around, and that way they don't have to be ready for me to remove them. Same thing with Lady Tremaine, a little bit more restrictive, but being able to bounce back Lady Tremaine, she is your replacement for Dragonfire purely because you're going to bounce her often, hopefully with Arthur or even Madame M. Fox is fine too. But this is a card that I did not expect to be so good. Obviously, she's good because she can pop ward targets if you are kind of single firing. But the best thing you can kind of do with like a follow up on Be Prepared is drop Lady Tremaine. So and then next turn being able to bounce her again. So she is a very powerful control card. Dragonfire almost every turn if you need it. With that said, I'm only playing 3 copies of her because I do see her in my early hands, and she's stuck for quite a bit. I wish the other like Lady Tremaine was inkable, and I would definitely consider playing 4 of her and then the 4 of the other Lady Tremaine to kind of replace Aladdin. But as it stands right now, I think 3 copies is fine. From there, we're playing 4 dragons. Yeah, this card I've always known was going to be a great powerhouse. Not quite in every single red deck that I thought it would be, but I think that we're definitely playing 4 copies of it. And here it is ink, or it is destruction, or it is a big body that I can bounce and just blow up your field every turn almost. So, Maleficent, monstrous dragon, welcome back into my deck. I'm really happy to see you. Funny enough, Friends on the Other Side, I was only playing 3 copies of. That was a mistake. That's why I thought I had 60 cards. And so in the videos you're going to see, I'm only playing 3 copies of. And yeah, you should be playing 4. There's no reason to play 4. That was a new mistake on mine. Funny enough, I still ran around like about an 80% win ratio. So yeah, Friends on the Other Side, play 4 copies, please. Be prepared. You still want to play 4 copies. There's a couple games where I just stuck it in my hand and I had like 3 in my hand, and just this card often finds me in groups and it's slightly annoying. But with that said, this does win you the game a lot of time, and you're going to need it to help wipe out the aggro onslaught. And finally, we got the Sorcerer's Spellbook. Ooh, where we go? I need my face. So Sorcerer's Spellbook, just really good card. This is again a more of a late game option. I'm playing 2 copies of it. I was originally bouncing that between the idea of just playing 1 and just having it late game when I close out. But yeah, I mean it's just getting that extra free lore when you don't have to do anything. This will save you in games, and it does put a clock on your opponent. So it really just I think it's well worth playing just at least 2 copies of it. You don't really want to play it early on if you can help it. If you can establish a board presence without playing this early on, don't feel like you have to play this on like turn 3 or 4 just because you have it on curve. Establish a board presence first and go from there. So that is my card by card. Let's show off some games, and I'm excited to show it off, guys. Oh, and before we do that, just to kind of go over some of the types, I am playing 16 non-inkables. I do think that you can change this up a little bit. I'm playing 61 at the moment, and maybe just cutting out a LeFou or a Madame M Snake is probably the right answer, so that way you can have 60 if you want. A 61 to me, you're drawing so much, I don't think it matters that much, but if you do want to make a nice clean 60, cut either a Madame Mim or possibly the LeFou, I think, in my opinion. 16 non-inkables. It is a little high than I want. If you really just want that 15, which I feel like you should be always striving for, cut the rabbit instead. Just because you will still draw quite a bit without the 4th rabbit, but I like having that extra one in there. So if I had to say, I would probably just keep the 16 and go from there. All right, so this is going to be our first game. I'm going to play him in speed up and just kind of make some commentary in the back end, just because sometimes those drawn out, boring ones kind of annoy me. So this is how I'm going to try and do some of these videos, because I think just having those games done this way might be a little bit more fun. We're definitely inking the dragon, playing a Pascal, and let's see what your opponent does. They are inking a big Tinkerbell, so that's kind of a good news for us at this point. Playing the Simba, though, this is kind of where I'm like, I like Gaston better, but just he didn't even go bodyguard with it, so I think at this moment I'm just going to try and sneak in some lore, and we'll figure out what he wants to do on his turn 3. From here, he does Ink a Stitch, goes into a Tinkerbell, and this is actually where I make a misplay, and I instantly realize that I messed up. So I'm drawing in for it, and I quest with Queen of Hearts. I definitely shouldn't have, because now he's going to be able to play Tinkerbell again and basically just wipe my whole board. So it was a big misplay on this part right here. So just turn 4, if there's a Tinkerbell on the field, you just want to assume they always have big Tink. I saw him ink it, and for whatever reason I just didn't put 2 and 2 until literally it was too late. So he definitely has control of the board, so we're just going to focus in and try and get some card draw and hopefully recover by turn 7, so that way I can play some Be Prepared. So I'm not going to be too aggressive on wiping out his field too much, but it's definitely a threat, and I got to figure out how I need to do this. And my opponent kind of holds for a bit before doing the Grab Your Swords with Big Tink, just to kind of chip away a little bit of damage, and it goes for the kill on the rabbit, giving me some extra draw. So at this point, I'm assuming he has Whole New World, and I'm kind of screwed a little bit in a way, but we'll have to see what happens. Ink the Yzma because it's not much of a threat, and I need to get rid of the big Simba. And this is kind of where I'm expecting the worst. Inking a Rockstar Stitch and singing Whole New World, which I do draw into my extra Be Prepared, which is nice. And at this point, we're kind of at a little bit more of a level playing field, but he is going to go in big with some extra cards, I'm sure. And I need to figure out how to take out that big Tinkerbell, who is a consistent threat, but I do have a good hand at the moment. The Rockstar Stitch instantly complicates everything. So he's going to quest in with the Cinderella. I am going to end up going and hitting the Cinderella, and then crashing into the Tink, inking the Maui again, making him think that I do not have an extra one. And then from here, I'm just going to draw, because if he is going to go in hard, then I'm going to go in for Be Prepared. So he's going to quest for the Stitch, play the Simba, not in the bodyguard form, but then shift it, and that way he gets his draw card, playing a Lantern, and he probably already expects me to have Be Prepared, and so he's just setting that up. So I'm actually throwing in a little bit of a curveball onto him and making him think I do not have it, and I'm going to put in some big threats, so that way I can kind of hopefully help him build up his board a little bit more and just bait him into the new Be Prepared. I do have some threats on the board, but I don't really mind losing these threats, especially considering one of them is going to be bouncing the other. So I'll let him think that, and this is a big enough threat where it's worth playing the Be Prepared for. So he is going to go in and quest. I'm going to go in and do the same my next turn, but I'm hoping he drops an extra one. Yeah, he drops a little Simba. So I'm just really hoping that I get some more value, and he just drops his little guys down. And he does another Simba. So he's got a big enough board where I'm feeling relatively confident that I can actually make a play other than just the Be Prepared. But I'm going to just start bouncing these guys, get some more, help gain some control in the field. I didn't really draw into a one of, or I'm sorry, I did. I got my Pascal. And so now I got the field presence set up. I got a little bit of an evasive unit. And he's going to just kill it, which I'm totally fine with. You want to waste that on a Pascal, I am completely fine with that. And from here, now I really need to kind of decide on what do I want to do in terms of setting up my board. Do I want to go for something big, or I'm going to go for the tempo plays? And we are definitely going for the big lore count, because I'm going to want to start building up my field now. We've got the Be Prepared down. We've survived the early game. And now we just have to kind of deal with any big threats, and we have the cards to do so. And here he goes with the big draws, and yeah. Always terrifying to see Rockstar Stitch dropping out a bunch of things. He's got the Whole New World, so I know next turn that's very likely going to be a thing. So I need to figure out the best way to kind of deal with this, and honestly, I don't really mind the Whole New World as much. I still got my Maui, which is instantly going to go, and I'm going to ram into that and then play the LeFou. And this is where LeFou does come into clutch. If he does play Whole New World, that actually only helps me because I'm only got down to one card in my hand, so I'm completely fine. And LeFou did his job exactly like I wanted. Again, he is more of a late game card, not an early game guy. I do not want to see him in the early game quite at all. And he is going to drop the Rockstar Stitch, or Surfer Stitch. But at this point, I think it's a little too late. If I draw Goat, it ends up being... Oh, never mind. And goes in onto my new Goat. And now we got to expect the Tinkerbell coming into this now, unfortunately. He's got Whole New World in his hand, so I don't want to focus too much on getting some extra card draw, but at the same time, he's definitely in a big threat right now. So the best way, I'm going to quest with Minnie, play the rabbit, draw, and I did draw into a Goat, which is just amazing. And we're going to bounce that Goat, and we're going to force that threat that, since he can't win this turn, we are going to just win with either Book next turn or Goat if he does not play Whole New World. So that draw definitely kind of put him in the worst spot possible, and I don't think he can get around it. It was just enough. He's playing Little Cinderella, hoping to draw. I don't know what he's hoping to draw at this point. He's got to get something to shift into big, and he did not. I think he just had to shift into the Rockstar Stitch. So let's just go on to game 2. So this is a pretty bad opening hand. I do have my queen to help me set up a little bit of a board present next turn, but it's not that great on the on turn 2 so far, just because he's not tapping with anything. So queen's probably just going to end up sitting there if I do anything. I'm going to ink the dragon and probably ink the second dragon on my next turn. And we're just kind of patiently waiting until my opponent figure out what they want to do on their 2 ink turn. Inking the Rapunzel, so we know it's blue and yellow. I love blue-yellow combo. It is actually a really fun type. We're just going to drop queens for some board presence. Just set up and establish a little bit of field and playing Mickey. And so they are going for a more heal, playing that Cinderella deck. We're going to ink Yzma. We're not going to need her for a bit. We'll draw Maleficent, and we'll just instantly hit that Grand Matala. Otherwise, she'll be a pain for the rest of the game. I don't think having that extra ink early on is going to be that big of a problem. But oh boy, I was kind of wrong. So this is I remember this game quite a bit now. This was a very, very interesting build, and I'm going to give this guy, Jigaboo Guy, some credit because it was a very interesting build. And we're going to just sing with Maleficent as you would normally want to do. It's her favorite song, Friends on the Other Side. Ink the extra Yzma, so we have 2 dragons and Yzma in there. I could play the LeFou, but I think I opt in for just a rabbit just to get some more card draw, because having that extra Goat on the field right now doesn't really do anything for my game state. It's really just, again, Goat is great late game. I don't really need to gain that extra lore right now. I'm all about just establishing my field presence. I don't have to worry about Whole New World right now because we're playing against blue-yellow. So he is going to hit for the Mickey, and I'm assuming he's just going to heal it with the Popsicle, but this was a nice little surprise. He heals it with the Rapunzel and get some card draw. He plays a Gumbo, so at this moment I'm like, okay, I'm not facing anything meta. What the hell am I facing? And I have to adapt and figure out what I'm going to do against this player. So we're going to ink a snake and dropping Maui, and let's start cleaning up some house a little bit. He's only got 3 cards in hand, so he has enough ink to play anything big anyway, so we're just going to get rid of Grandma again to make sure that it's not much of a threat. And this is kind of where the game throws me off quite a bit. The guy has a very unique deck, so again, I give him mad props. He's not playing a meta, he's playing something he's building on his own. And he plays the Artist Rapunzel to draw into some cards. He plays Let It Go on the Maui to make sure I don't have a threat on the field. I'm feeling pretty good. I have the Lady Tremaine, but playing this, just going in for the quest, we're going to pop one of the 2, and he has to choose. I'm kind of hoping he kills the Princess Rapunzel, but it is a Moana that he does end up deciding on, which is probably the smart action just because you're going to need that draw power at some point. I can't actively deal with her at the moment, so I'm just going to opt into questing and seeing what happens. And this is where he gets a little greedy, and it makes me smile a little bit. So he is going to ram into Maleficent, just taking the 2 damage, and start to heal up, but he heals up again with a second Rapunzel. And he's got the draw power engine really, really rocking. I'm just kind of spamming with Lady Tremaine, seeing an extra Cinderella. I don't know what to expect here. I kind of go into brain mode. We're gonna bounce Tremaine just because I'm gonna want to hit her anyways, and we're gonna kill off one of those Rapunzels. We'll play Arthur as a threat, and I can go LeFou, and it doesn't really. This play doesn't matter at this point. I'm just kind of setting up a board presence because a lot of his characters just have high stats, and yeah, I probably should have done it on the Fox, but it doesn't really matter. And he plays the other Rapunzel, which means he's gonna draw even more cards. And he has a pretty good way to do it with Dinglehopper. He's got the Gumbo Pot. He has so much just healing energy right now to draw more cards. And I'm actually fine with it at this point because he's just drawing a few extra cards and they're all just seemingly helping him heal at the moment. So I don't feel like it's anything too big of a threat right now. He can run into something else and draw another card if he really wants to. And in fact, he's going to and kill off the Maleficent. Probably a smart choice to get some board presence cleaned and draw into another card. And getting another draw with the other card and instantly dropping down. So he is starting to establish board presence. He's starting to get much more card advantage. We need to do something about this now. So we're going to hit those two guys. We are going to have LeFou quest. We're going to have Arthur bounce the fox. And which actually was a little bit of a misplay. I probably should have had LeFou hit the Cinderella, but I didn't think about it. So, and that way I could have traded off those guys. Yeah, LeFou 100% should have hit Cinderella here, but again, it's a small misplay. And this is where we know, okay, he's going for a healing OTK thing, and it's a little too late at this point. He's going to get some heals off, which means he's going to generate some lore. Sure, that's okay. I'm fine with that. But it's, again, just too late. I am going to, from here, I don't have to worry about too much, but I'm going to go in and start questing and kind of figure out my game plan. I'm debating right now if I want to go in for Be Prepared, but I have enough where I'm confident where I don't need to do Be Prepared. But we're going to drop Minnie Mouse, quest with Tremaine, have this bounce that, and I think at this point I do just, yeah, I secure the victory just because I'm pretty confident at this point. And we're just going to drop in Queen of Hearts, and we're able now to pop literally whatever he summons. And he's just drawing his items. So not much really of a threat here. We're just going to play LeFou and just establish a bit of a board presence. And I don't even, yeah, I'm playing the other LeFou just to, again, if he does have top deck of Hades, I have a win for it. So very unique deck, but not quite powerful enough. All right, so here I start my hand with 3 Be Prepared. It's always fun. I have some early game stuff. I got some draw power, so now that I fixed that hand, it's just looking like a much, much better deck. So Alpaca, 21. I actually noticed that I face him quite a bit on ladder. He is a great, great player, and this battle does he tests me quite a bit. So shout out to Alpaca. If you ever watch these, you are a great player. I do feel like I face you quite a bit, and dropping the blue item card right there. I'm going to drop the snake just because I'm going to need that power. And normally I like having the snake in the early game because of cards like this. I can make the trade if I need to. So now he's really debating on what is appropriate. What should I trade with this? Is it worth getting the 2 lore right now for losing this character? And he does go in for the clear for it, but only because he's going to drop the bell and instantly, I think he smashes it, doesn't he? He's playing blue steel. Yeah, smashing the snake. So at that point, I'm like, oh crap. We need to get field presence down now. We're going to drop Minnie. We're going to drop Pascal. I got the Fox for next turn when he quests. So I'm feeling like, all right, like 1 setback, not too bad. But he is going to go in. And this, dropping the Floodborn Chief, it's, yeah, this guy is a pretty fun machine gun kind of power. I know that Pascal is dying next turn. And the funny thing is, he does not quest. He just knows automatically. He just assumes that I have the Fox, so I get rid of one in my hand. And very, very smart player. Goes in, drops a beast, killing off my Pascal, my poor Pascal, and just passes. He is setting up that field control. He wants control, and mad respect to this player. He does a great job of it right now. So I'm going to set up Aladdin just because if he doesn't have the direct removal, I'm going to at least bounce my rabbit when it takes the 1 hit. And he is drawing Hiram, the most broken card in this game currently. And just establishes the board. He's drawing a card every turn for Beast. He's drawing two. He's going to be drawing 2 cards for Hiram. Hiram is just such a big threat, and I'm basically praying for my Be Prepared on turn 7 at this point. He finally goes in and lets it go on the Arthur. Oh boy. Okay, so I'm going to sing and get some bouncing going on because I definitely need to start removing some of these threats. They are way too big. We are going to hit and kill this 2 of, and we'll have Mini just chip away and deal 1 damage just so that way he's stopping to stop the drawing because I can't handle the draw power in that deck right now. At this point, I'm kind of debating, should I play the book or should I play Madam Mim Fox? Both good options, but ultimately I decide on the rabbit just because, again, field presence and just to draw, and at this point I am praying for Be Prepared. And Hiram does get the another draw too, and grab your swords, clinging out everything else, and finally just adding the Cogsworth to kill out my rabbit for the insult. And at this point, if you haven't guessed, I am praying for Be Prepared. I'm drawing so many cards. Why am I drawing so many cards and I'm not able to? Huge mistake on my part. I went to try and swing and kill. I forgot about resist. It did work out because I did have the Queen of Hearts, but I probably should have gone and killed off the Beast instead. It would have probably been better because he's already drawing so much stuff anyways. But thankfully I had a good follow-up. Goes in with Cogs, goes in with Beast, goes in with the bow guy. Let's it go. Again, I am praying. I need a frickin' Be Prepared, and I am not drawing Be Prepared in the slightest right now. I'm just gonna quest with that. Ink LeFou, bounce or play the book. I'm gonna bounce the Queen because otherwise she's probably dead next turn. Decided bouncing the rabbit because again I am opting to go in for the Be Prepared as like my life-saving goal right now, and because I'm not able to get that Be Prepared, unfortunately, I haven't used any. I saw 3 of them at the beginning. They're probably hanging out at the bottom of the deck, but he just has to basically quest for face, and he's gonna be fine. There's nothing you can really do. But at this point, it's giving me hope because I'm like, what is he thinking about? Is he thinking just to go in and start attack? But he's debating if he wants to sing the following song that just kind of hits me quite a bit. So grab your swords, wiping out my board. Smart play. I go for the rabbit, hoping to draw Be Prepared, and it's a fail. So we're going on to the next game. So I start Be Prepared in my opening hand this one. And we're facing another blue deck. A little bit scary after dealing with the last one, so I'm kind of worried. My opening hand is not great by any means, and we're just going to ink and pass. He is going to ink a Winnie the Pooh, which is what he's supposed to do. Playing that green card, I forgot her name, but we're dropping Queen of Hearts, and we're expecting those two just to trade off, and getting a 2-quester out of the way. Green-blue is always an interesting combination because they have such ramping tools and so many big questing threats that it definitely puts a big threat on them right away. We are going to ink a Yzma and play out Arthur, have them ram, and this will kind of help me establish a little bit of a board next turn. He does play a Flynn, or inks a Flynn, and goes right away into Hiram, which just automatically fixes the issues that green has. And at this point, I'm kind of debating on what I need to do. We're going to ink a goat, play a rabbit, get some draw, and quest bouncing the rabbit. He's not going to likely be able to attack my Arthur, so I am in a good spot in terms of gaining lore and keeping Arthur alive, at least so I think, until he bounces it. But thankfully he just sings with it, so he doesn't get the draw too, which isn't that important. But it does give me enough space where if I can top deck a Maui, I can instantly go and crash into Hiram, which I don't, but that's okay. I didn't really expect much. I am going to drop Minnie Mouse just so I can bounce it with my Fox. But here it's not going to be enough damage because that's not how that card works. He does not trade with it. And we're just going to play Minnie again. I expect him to kind of start using some of the items to heal him up a little bit. So he does quests. He does kill one of them. I'm expecting the other one to be a heal, but it doesn't really matter because if he does heal it, I can do 4 damage relatively consistently anyway. Playing the Sifu, whatever the dragon thing is. So I am feeling a little bit better at the moment. We are going to go in and finish that harem off because it is way too good to not to be dealt with. We're going to bounce the other fox because we're going to need that rush capabilities. We're going to kill off Nick. We're just going to quest that, and we're going to bounce the fox again just to get more field presence. Those cards are good, and I'm going to need the 4 attackers to help deal with these threats that are on board right now. He does go in, draws an extra card, and plays Judy to pop his own item, which means that the girl is no longer resistant, which is kind of a misplay, but not really. Playing out with Jasper, questing for 2. They're in a good spot. I'm just going to ink this. I'm going to quest, and they're in a... I'm going to ink that Meta Mim first. I'm definitely singing this song. Or be prepared. They have such a wide board right now, I wasn't going to be able to deal with it. But I did get this, and the Lady Tremaine will instantly pop out the Cusco. Feeling good with that Lady Tremaine. And so I did have to ink the Fox, which I wasn't crazy about. But I kind of expected him to go wide, and it just didn't pan out that way. So we're going to play Arthur. We're going to go double Arthur's and his quest. We are a lot more in control at the moment, so he can try and hit Tremaine, and if he does, then cool, but if not, then I got Maui coming up. I got Lady Tremaine to help me deal with some other issues. We're in a good spot, but he does let it go on her, which kind of solidifies what I'm doing now. And we're going in with Maui. Maui to hit that. We're going to bounce the Maui back into our hand so he can deal with Cusco next turn, just safely. And we're going to start questing, but first we're going to play the book. We're going to make sure we get one. We're going to ink the Maui just to trick him, thinking that we don't have another one. And we will bounce this, and I think, yeah, I go for Maleficent because of having that extra card draw. So he has an option now. He has to remove these Arthurs because they are a huge threat. He does manage to bounce out one of them. And this is that's a scary, scary moment here. I am kind of hoping for... I got the Maleficent drawing into a goat, which just solidifies the victory. Very, very awesome. Yeah. Just exactly what I needed in those situations. And going in second again. I feel like I'm going second in a lot of these games. Just kind of getting around, and we want to try and find that one drop. We're going to keep the Queen of Hearts, and we're going to keep the draw, just because if I don't find something, I'm going to need to draw into something, and I play a lot of 3s, so it's well worth always keeping the friends on the other side. Dropping it down, and Olaf, not following my advice of playing Minnie Mouse, but we're going to just ink that Meta Mim. Yeah. Quest for Olaf. Get rid of LeFou, he's a late game card. Let's play Queen of Hearts. We're just going to have him ram into it, just so that way I can kind of put a little bit of threat on the board. And now if he is going to sing that song, he is going to have to damage it. Olaf actually trades into me, which is funny. But oh crap. Remember earlier when I talked about evasives? This deck does not do well against evasives. So with that said, you know I'm at a handicap. But do you think I can overcome it? Well, he's playing an aggressive, very, very aggressive red-purple deck. I am not prepared for this at all. I'm going to play the rabbit, try and establish a little bit of board presence, but he's going to be questing hard and a lot, and I can't quite do anything about it at the moment. Dropping Maleficent, getting some draw. He's gaining some lore every turn. He's getting at least 2 with Minnie Mouse every turn. Inking, he does just quest in, and at this point I am struggling to keep up because I don't have quite the cards to deal with any of these threats. I'm going to have to ram into his goat. We're going to sing with Rabbit and hope to find some kind of answer. My goal at this moment is to try and clear his board, and that way I can Lady Tremaine onto this evasive unit. And it's a lot harder said than done, but he does... Yeah, he is going to ink in. He did sing with Maleficent and dropping a Yzma. And again, at this point too, I'm like, well, crap. I'm gonna go for Tremaine. He's gonna pick an option. And unfortunately, he doesn't quite pick the one that I want. His evasive unit is just gonna sit there and collect some lore and surfing high while doing it. So he is in a phenomenally great position at the moment. He does play another goat just to keep adding that pressure. That's another guarantee too. He is gonna bounce the goat, going back in. And at this point, I'm considering just trying to bounce a Tremaine again, but I won't be able to play her the same turn, and just kind of hoping to play catch up on something. I play my own goats, but he is so far ahead of me currently. There's not much of a comeback that I can really do here. He has another goat in hand. He's questing for 2. He's playing the other one right here, and right off the bat, he does quickly go and bounce it. He's got guaranteed game here at this point. Even if I draw a Be Prepared, that's not happening. And so we'll start off with the next game. So again, evasive units against this deck just kind of wreck it. The evasive decks are really good. So now we're facing a nice little Patreon and Anamar, and we're gonna play Pascal. He's got a cool background or card sleeve thing, whatever that is, for his discard pile. He is going to be playing yellow. We are just kind of, yeah, red, yellow, always a fun combination. And we're just going to try and ink and just quest as much as we can. We don't have to worry about field wipes for quite a bit right now. He's probably going to play a little bit more aggressive at the moment, and he does play a Smee. Just questing in with the Queen of Hearts, and we're just going to go in for 3. We're going to ink a LeFou and drop Arthur, so that way I can get some bouncing down with some of these Pascals after they're done using being useful. Funny enough, though, he does ink a Grothel, which is interesting to me. I was like, okay, he doesn't have Rapunzel, that's good. But he plays Teeth, and Teeth to clean out a Pascal. I'm like, okay, well, what's one of them? And then he plays a second one, and kills my other Pascal, and at that point I'm slightly annoyed. So we're going to ink Yzma, and at this point I'm kind of debating, do I want to trade, but I'm going to do the draw, and we're just going to trade that other Pascal. He did serve me well, but we're going to bounce this. So get some extra card draw. Arthur is kind of safe at the moment, so we'll see how it goes if he doesn't hit me with anything, and he just passes on turn 5. So kind of surprising. So at this point, we're just going to ink Mana Mim. We are in a pretty safe spot. We're going to quest, and then we're just going to bounce this. And we're going to play LeFou to protect my nice little Arthur. And we're feeling really safe right now. He has nothing at the moment. Sits there, just quest, passing on turn 6. I'm like, okay, well, he has a Be Prepared, obviously, at this point. So I do ink that. I am going to just bounce my Arthur. But first, just to make sure... which is probably the wrong play, just in case, but I am going to play this into Lady Tremaine, and then we're going to just bounce back Lady Tremaine again, so that way if he does play Be Prepared, I have an option to delete anything that he plays in the next turn. He inks and passes, so at this point I'm like, okay, he gave up. So not much to say about this game. We're just going to finish it, and bam. Alright, so we're going to get rid of these bigger cards and things that can't bounce. Again, not a 1-drop right here. I'm feeling confident enough, but we're going to keep the 2 of, and we did manage to get a Pascal early on, which is awesome. Ink a Goat, because again, we don't need him in the early game. We're going to play a Pascal. We drew into a second one, which is really nice. It looks like we're going in the mirror. He's playing another Pascal as well. Let's just ink another Goat, and I'm going to drop Pascal. And it's surprising that he didn't play his, but that's cool with me. And something I don't have to deal with is early threats. So we know he's playing purple and red, I think it was. Yeah, Yzma, I'm going to ink that. And dropping Maleficent, perfect. So not too much to worry about threat-wise yet. Let's just ink that. Let's play Book, just to kind of keep the pressure on. If we're playing the same deck, then I'd rather put him on the timer than myself. And he does drop his own Book, inking his Maleficent, and just he's going to quest. So he's questing for 2 every turn. I'm going to be questing for 3 every turn. Let's ink the Snake. We don't quite need it yet. And I think at this point we're just questing in, and we're going to bounce Maleficent just because I don't want him to be able to sing every turn. We can play another Pascal and go from there. He does play a Rabbit just to get some extra card draw, and at this point now I am kind of sitting at a pretty favorable position. Let's ink that, sing the song, play the Arthur, play the Pascal. I don't have to worry about Be Prepared for another turn at least. And at that point I'm going to be so far ahead in lore that the Be Prepared won't matter too much. I do have the card draw with Maleficent in my hand to hopefully get some recovery going. He is going to bounce the Rabbit, get some more card draw. At this point, I'm actively expecting to Be Prepared. So I'm not going to go too hard, but he does drop a Book, doesn't play any other cards. So I'm going to play Maleficent, get the draw, and we're going to start questing in with everybody. We are going to bounce Maleficent back, and then I'm just actually going to quest because I don't want to drop Maleficent again, because if he does play the Be Prepared, then I don't want to lose an extra card. And just having that one extra lore is more than enough, but he does not actually get to the Be Prepared, and that is a clean win. All right, and again, as you kind of notice how I'm going to start inking things and playing that off, let's get rid of the Be Prepared in the early game, get rid of LeFou because he is a late game card, but I just draw into 2 more late game cards. Thankfully, one of them is inkable, and we're going to draw Pascal. Playing against blue early on, okay. He's going to be playing some high lore counts with the Maleficent, and I'm just going to drop Queen of Hearts just to show, hey, I'm flexing my muscles out right now. I got a little bit of field presence. I'm going to protect my Pascal, and he is going to ink a Judy, playing a Simba, and let's get rid of Minnie Mouse. We don't quite need her yet. We're going to draw into the card, and we're just going to quest, because if he does want to hit me with Simba, then he can hit me with Simba. And he hits me with a Simba. And instantly for an Alice, which is interesting to me. I'm going to ink the Madam Mim Snake. We're going to play my own rabbit, and I'm going to have Maleficent trade into that Simba because it could be a threat later on, gaining some extra attack, and just trade our quest with this, the Pascal. He is playing a Lantern, so we know it's a bit of a ramp. We're going to start pushing some threats, but first we're going to draw some more cards and dropping another Pascal, just gaining that lore per turn. If he does have a wide wipe in some way, he does not because it's yellow-blue, then we will have the card draw to back us up. And playing a Gaston right here. So this is kind of an interesting build. I haven't seen something like this yet, so I don't know what to expect too much. And so I'm going to drop Lady Tremaine. He's hopefully going to hit it on the Alice, but if not, then Gaston is still a direct threat. And yeah, he does opt to go with the Alice instead. So Gaston is going to end up trading with the rabbit. That's fine with me. I will gladly draw an extra card. And we are expecting a Rapunzel heal. Alright, so we don't want to play our own Tremaine because he's probably going to pop his grandma. We're going to get some card draw, and let's just force the game. Forcing him into it. We have 2 evasive units, and we have 4 lore basically on the board, guaranteed almost. And he does not have board wipes, so this is a pretty safe victory at this point. We were just too aggressive, and this deck does get aggressive when it needs to. And that's going to do it this time, guys. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. Hopefully I've earned your subscription on this. I really appreciate any kind of comments or feedback you guys give. And let me know what else you would like to see. I think this was a really solid Ruby Amethyst deck right now. It's got a pretty solid win ratio. I'm hanging out around 80% roughly right now on the gold ladder. And I'm pretty happy with it. So if you want to see more of this stuff, then just let me know. If you like the turn-by-turn commentary versus just watching the games live and the commentary as the game unfolds, let me know which one of these formats you kind of like better. I'm kind of debating between the two. I kind of like doing this just because it's a little bit separate from what other people are doing, and there's also just a lot of downtime. It does let me cover more games, speeding up the gameplay and making my commentary this way. So I want to show you guys off as much as I can. So again, like, subscribe, share, do all the YouTube stuff. Take care, y'all.